Thank you. Sucheta, Debashish, members of the Moneylife community, my colleagues, and obviously since I don't have too many friends and there are lots of people assembled here, they are obviously friends of Moneylife. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of you today and participate in this third anniversary function of Moneylife. I was just telling Sujeta that I feel terribly intimidated, and if I had known that Debashish was going to announce from this platform that the CAG has been publishing Enid Blyton books as his reports, I would have not come here for sure, I can assure you. Because there are so many people who would like to believe that our reports are yarns that we spill out. And Debashish saying it from this platform is really, lending credence to that story that we just spin yarns and nothing more than that. Anyway, we'll give Enid Blyton a competition at the least. The foundation has certainly made a very credible impact, and that too in these 3 years. This is awesome to hear all the kind of things that you've been doing. 153 seminars, one a week is remarkable, really remarkable. But I saw from your website and lots of other people with whom I shared some thoughts that the kind of information that you've been disseminating, the kind of financial literacy that you've been bringing about in the community, and I think that more institutions or more organizations of this kind we need, especially in a city like Mumbai, where for every person who makes it good, there are 9 who don't make it good by investing in this similar kind of things. So please keep up your good work. And at least I feel very privileged to be amongst all of you today, because in the kind of things that you have done in 3 years, many of us wouldn't have done in 30. The commencement of the present millennium for India was indeed very exciting and rewarding. It helped provide comfort nationally and internationally too, that the vibrant Indian democracy was capable of delivering double-digit growth. We successfully overcame the pre-1991 problems through the reforms. We took initiatives, the reform agenda was rolled out, and in fact, by 96 and 97, we withstood the shock which some of the Asian tigers folded up in. The country even managed to suffer the initial setbacks of the financial meltdown. So, of course, a different story, that considering that all nations are plugged into, all economies are plugged into each other, the subsequent effects of that financial meltdown in terms of economic consequences has hit us very hard. And of course, we are facing the results of it all. I have been assigned to speak to you on how accountability of a government is the key to a vibrant democracy. This issue is certainly very contemporary, very alive. It has assumed very critical proportions. Now, if we were to deliberate on this subject, let us start at the outset to ascertain what indeed is accountability. Now, I looked at various books, and accountability I found is the obligation of those holding power to take responsibility for their behavior and their actions. It becomes even more important when management of public funds is involved. Government spends huge amounts of money on infrastructure, on providing services, and running various schemes for the welfare of the people. Now, where does this money come from? A large chunk of this money comes from taxes, which are collected compulsorily. We have no option in the business of paying taxes. Now, if there is compulsion in our paying these taxes, we certainly need to know how these monies are spent. And therefore, the government is obligated to work in the interest of its citizens and deliver accountable governance in managing these resources. It becomes answerable to public for its policies, decisions, and performance. Now, I have been assigned the subject of government, but I'd like to stress that we need to appreciate that accountability is not the sole responsibility of government alone. It is a requirement in the corporate sector too, and it transcends into civil societies, governmental organizations, and citizens groups. However, since, as I said earlier, government collects money from the public and spends on behalf of the public, such spending does place an element of higher accountability on government. Such accountability requires that the actions and decisions taken by the public officials are transparent and capable of withstanding scrutiny. Now let us spend another minute on trying to understand how accountability has gained almost iconic status today. In a democracy, we all know ultimate power rests with the people. Now, for the conduct of their affairs, they elect persons who will represent them, and they in turn, the elected representatives in turn, constitute the official machinery, which is architecture to discharge the policy decisions which have been taken by these elected representatives. However, in a system of separation of powers and constitutional checks and balances, accountability it is accountability that ensures actions and decisions taken by public officials are subject to oversight as to guarantee that government initiatives meet their stated objectives and responds to the needs of the community they are meant to be benefiting. Now, the concept of accountability involves two distinct stages. One is, of course, answerability, and the other is enforcement. Now, the former, that's answerability, refers to the obligation of the government, its agencies, and officials to provide information about their decisions and actions. It enjoins upon them to justify these to the institutions of accountability tasked with providing this oversight. Enforcements, on the other hand, suggest that the institutions responsible for accountability can sanction the offending party or remedy the contravening behavior. Accountability is thus important as it ensures that public bodies are performing to their full potential, providing value for money in the provision of public services and instill confidence of the community in the elected government. This is the basic tenet of democracy. And democracy, you will all appreciate, without accountability is a body without a soul. Now, the conventional wisdom of good governance is premised on the basic tenet that democratically elected governments will conduct public affairs with probity and accountability. However, public perception, and all of you are present here, seem to feel that recent actions of government which have come into public domain indicate that elements of ethics and integrity seem to be lacking. This has triggered the feeling among the vast majority of urban citizenry that it is time when the conventional architecture along which governments are expected to function needs to be tempered, and tempered such that there is an element of participation by the informed public. In the present age, governance has assumed such critical proportions that it appears too important to be left only to the government. The stakeholders in governance have expanded beyond the executive, legislature, and judiciary today to civil society, social organizations, media, and the public. Apart from the base expanding, each new stakeholder has become very vociferous, very discerning, and very demanding. 2012 will go down in the history of the Indian democracy as a defining year, a year in which the citizen came center stage and debunked the age-old myth of a silent majority. We always believed, I've grown up thinking that the majority is silent. This certainly portends a maturing of Indian democratic forces. How much the political class and administration has realized this factor and is willing to come to terms with it is too early to predict. It is clear that citizens seek a dialogue in which they will participate in governance and will be calling the government to account. This is indeed the old order changing, yielding place to the new. The era of a new, discerning and demanding class of citizens has come to stay. And the citizen calling the government to account and seeking transparency in political formulation is the emergence of the voice, a voice which hitherto was considered to be that of the silent majority. This voice is now seeking to develop a new moral and ethical framework which should be put in position to guide the citizenry and its elected representatives in future to ensure the accountability of decision makers. Now there are, and Sucheta was mentioning it in Moneylife itself, that there are very distinct signs of the urban Indian middle class mobilizing themselves politically. There are also signs of tenacious assertion in this mobilization. This mobilization is debunking yet another myth, which is of what? Of the white-collar urban citizenry unwilling to take to the streets to pursue their cause. This class of people had confined themselves to living room discussions, TV debates, and maybe college politics. They took pride in not going to vote, looked down at caste and regional politics, and hence were never sought after by the political class. But this disparate group is now aggregating. It is uniting for a cause. It seems to feel its strength. What stirred them? Why did they feel the need to unite? Maybe corruption at every government office, maybe a birth certificate, a driver's license, a hospital bed, or the need for a gas connection. All indications of such a movement point to the fact that it cannot be wished away anymore. It is not a flash in the pan and has all the ingredients of being a long-term phenomenon. It is widely believed that this churning in the urban, educated middle class has taken the administration by surprise. I believe it too, and I've spent 4 decades in administration. They were neither prepared nor attuned to such an awakening. They cannot conceive spontaneous crowds collecting. They are only accustomed to paid crowds being mobilized for political rallies. The scant respect for this class that it always displayed, the administration always displayed, is now proving to be an incorrect reading of the pulse of the people. And hence the insensitive and misguided response further deteriorated the situation, as you saw in the months of December and January. Now this middle class has grown up, Gen Next I'm talking about, respecting the system, the institutions, and the rule of the law. The political establishment, I'm sorry, seem to subvert these, and hence the total disharmony between a people and the government that they voted unto themselves. The need for able governance with accountability has never been so strongly felt as in the present-day world. While the developed countries have to deal with the aftermath of the economic slowdown, the developing countries, an emerging economy like India also, have to struggle to ward off economic downturn, create employment opportunities, and meet the growing aspirations of a very demanding populace. Only efficient and effective governance can meet these challenges. There is yet another culture, and that is the culture of the end justifying the means, and which is becoming increasingly convenient cover for behavior for individuals, groups, or government babus like me. But the implications of this individual or collective conduct are far-reaching. History is witness to the fact that any dilution of morality has eventually led to degeneration of societal values, pushing the country into a quagmire from which it takes ages to emerge. This leads me to my next proposition before you. Should ethics be applied subjectively or selectively? If so, who determines the purpose, the justification, and the quantum? And when it does stop being convenient, and when does it become inconvenient? When, from individual transgressions, we moved on to an institutional transgression. A basic premise of parliamentary democracy is that an elected and accountable political executive, with the assistance of an elaborate bureaucracy, would manage public affairs within the restrictions imposed by the Constitution and the law. However, the reality of complex politics, today we call it the compulsions of coalition politics, in every democracy is leading to convenient deviations. A dominant culture of adjustment has become prevalent, with honesty and integrity becoming the casualty. The most oft-repeated statements by public officials over a large number of misdemeanors which have been reported are that the law would be allowed to take its own course. You must have heard it. It is unfortunate that this is exactly what does not happen. And any numbers of impediments are created in the law taking its course. Enlightened kings, vibrant democracies have been successful and popular only because the rule of law was allowed to prevail. This is a very fundamental requirement if we have to make the government, our government, or a democratic government of the people, by the people, and really for the people. Now, in any parliamentary democracy, the people have given to themselves an elaborate devolution of powers among institutions. Parliament and judiciary are accountability institutions which derive a constitutional mandate to legislate and ensure that a rule of law does prevail. However, since quite often the executive cannot discharge all the powers granted to it directly by the Constitution, it creates institutions such as independent regulators, public auditors, election, vigilance, and public service commissions with an arm's length approach for transparent and effective functioning. Embedded in the creation of these institutions is the core belief that they will be allowed independence and freedom of functioning. Permitting them such freedom only enhances trust between the government and its people of equality, ethics, and welfare. Accountability institutions ensure that no one is above the law and is accountable for their actions. They're designed to provide early warning signals to the executive about suboptimality of policies, transgressions in the implementation, and partnering for progress. They should not be viewed as adversarial institutions. Their partnership in development and the achievement of democratic values is as much as an agency of the executive itself. One such institution is that of the public auditor, generically referred to as the supreme audit institution. It speaks volumes of the vision of the architects of the Constitution that such institutions have been given an independent mandate and security of tenure. They visualized it 65 years back. The avowed objective for the creation of such a high body is to enable it to hold the executive financially accountable to the legislature. In their quest for accountability and in their attempt to establish transparency in functioning and thereby gain trust of the people, democracies worldwide are empowering institutions of accountability such as that of the Office of the Auditor General. To quote a case to you, in July 2004 in the USA, several proposals were introduced in the 110th Congress to augment the mandate of the Auditor General. The erstwhile General Accounting Office, it was called, as we are called CAG, they were called the General Accounting Office, was redesignated as the Government Accountability Office to reflect the agency's evolution and additional duties. Most of the agency's work today involves evaluation of government policies and programs, legal opinions, and decisions on a broad range of government programs. The Government Accountability Office has been empowered for measuring the government's performance and holding it accountable for the results. It is empowered to ensure that the public deserves the facts on all aspects of government operations, from spending to policy making. The decisions of the Congress has helped bolster the trust of the people in its elected representatives and the administration. It has helped to establish the accountability cycle between the elected, the appointed, and the public, whose trust is critical for sustained growth. A positive approach towards such institutions benefits society. An inimical attitude towards them leads to the loss of society itself. The India story today attracts worldwide attention that involves 1/6 of the global population. The struggle for dignity and prosperity of this population through social and economic transformation is being closely watched by the rest of the world. All decisions that we take regarding political reforms and economic liberalization will have consequential global ramifications. It needs to be emphasized that ensuring all-round development and promoting inclusive growth is not the responsibility of government alone. In recent years, the stellar role of citizens groups and media in ensuring accountability has indeed been remarkable. In the appointment of a Central Vigilance Commissioner, reopening the Jessica Lal murder case, the misdemeanors of a retired Haryana Director General of Police, or the unwarranted parole of Manu Sharma, it was the role of the media and the citizens who ensured that truth actually did prevail. These are outstanding examples of law and outstanding examples of a new order asserting itself, indeed a very healthy development in society. And these are moments in history when people all over the world seem to rise up to right the wrong themselves. India demonstrated this to gain independence. India demonstrated this in 1975, or rather in 1977, when democracy was snuffed out in 1975. And yet again, in response to the reforms of the 1991, India is demonstrating it again today, its inherent strength, by enforcing accountability on government through citizen groups and media. Countries worldwide have had a new paradigm emerge after such upheavals. The mass movements largely are against failures in the system, or when the gap between what governments should be doing and are actually seen to be doing become very vast. The movements seek the ideal working of the system and those impeding it to be accounted for their misdeeds. Street protests globally are against inequality, unfair treatment, and injustice in policies of a nation who could not, through regulators and their administrative setup, check the greed of a few. The accountability of regulators is to harness excesses of the top 1 percentile of wealthy persons, shore up the middle class, and empower those at the bottom of the income distribution bracket. In India, economic prosperity for Indians is not an option anymore. It is a total necessity. Economic empowerment can be possible if growth is founded only on good governance. Such growth is sustainable only if it is premised on an ethical code of governance. When the story of India is written, it should be written that governance was the solution and not the problem, wherein the state was the facilitator and indeed not the predator. These edicts in our governance structure have to be an essential ingredient, as too much is at stake and for far too many people in this country. While concluding, and I've tested your patience long enough, I'd like to say that I'm an economist by training. My knowledge of the English literature is very minimal. However, I take recourse to English literature to emphasize the point that tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today, and hence the significance of what Shakespeare said in Julius Caesar, and I quote, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the floods, leads on to a fortune." Most of you must be knowing it by heart. "Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current while it serves, or we lose all our ventures." And hence I repeat that unless we as conscious citizens and informed public ensure the transparency, accountability, and morality in the function of the government, indeed, too much is at stake, and again, for far too many. Thank you very much for your patience listening.
Yeah. I'm Arun Giri, a chartered accountant and a journalist, and there's one contradiction that keeps coming up whenever we fight for these, crusades or reforms or good governance, and that is that every time an election happens, whether Parliament, whether Assembly, or whether even in our own institute of chartered accountants, and the result does not go the way of the reformers and all the reformers lose, all those in governance in power say that we have the mandate. It sets you back in a big way, and then the question is, for how long will a citizens group keep running these crusades if ultimately the people will, or the people support, the common man support is not there. Any institution it may be, not just I'm talking of our elections, but any institution, unless the people back it up, how will we keep running this fight for good governance?
Thanks, Arun. A chartered accountant and a journalist, that's a lethal combination. And he's proven it by asking a question which I found I'm totally unable to answer, flabbergasted. Arun, King Bruce of Scotland saw the spider do it 9 times. Isn't it? He's disappeared. Where's he gone? See, I just belabored the fact that the myth that is being debunked is that of the silent majority. The majority was always silent because the minority felt that they had the mandate and they were excising the mandate, and they were far more articulate and more aggressive than this timid majority. Tides have changed. You have to be tenacious, and that's the only way you will succeed. Once, twice, thrice, 4 times, the so-called people who have the mandate are typical what I would call bullies. You know, they bark at you and you recoil. Well, that's it, they've succeeded. But if you bark back and indeed tell them that you can also bite, that's where you've succeeded. And I think we'll have to consider that.
Mr. Rai, there's a request from the social media people saying, how about you coming online sometime with the Twitter account?
I'm totally ignorant of technology. An attempt was made by my colleague and very close friend, Dr. Qureshi, to try and tell me what this Twitter or whatever it is all about. He's partially succeeded. Hopefully this old man will also learn something. If he does, he'll come online.
So we'll expect it very shortly so that people can interact directly.
Very shortly. Well, I don't know how to define that very shortly.
One more question that people have is, has the CAG been looking at Aadhaar and UID and the fact that it is headed towards becoming one of the biggest scams?
I know that's your conclusion. We will certainly be looking at Aadhaar because it's a scheme which spends a lot of government money, and we would like people like you to be assured of the fact that that money has been well spent. We will certainly be looking at it at an appropriate period of time.
विनोद सर, सबसे पहले तो हमें गर्व है कि आपने जिस तरह से अच्छे स्कैम्स को एक्सपोज किया. मैं टीवी न्यूज़ में अभी जो हेलीकॉप्टर का स्कैम है वो देख रहा था, तो डिबेट चली थी. उन्होंने कहा कि जो डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री है वो CAG से एग्जम्प्टेड है, उनका ऑडिट CAG नहीं कर सकती है. एक बता रहे थे कि विनोद सर के अगर ऑडिट होता तो कब का पर्दा फास्ट होता था, तो उसका कुछ करना पड़ेगा सर.
CAG डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री का ऑडिट करता है और इसका भी किया है, और हाल ही में आपके अटेंशन में आ जाएगा, ये बहुत हाल में आएगा.
Thank you, sir, for an outstanding and very, very inspiring speech and presentation. Some years ago, we had one Mr. Session who changed the Election Commissioner's office, totally changed it. And you have similarly changed the Accountant General's office. Unfortunately, the Election Commission is no more what it was because its power was weakened because of various things which happened. I hope the same will not happen to the office that you will be leaving. Now, you are right in saying that we have to do things about it. But I hope that Moneylife and you can provide us leadership to make sure that we do not go back to what it used to be, because they would not like to pick up another wrong man. Thank you.
See, I don't share, and permit me, sir, to differ with you, that I don't share the viewpoint that Election Commission has in any way, the powers have declined. Election Commission today is a very potent body. And believe me, you and I may not be scared of it because we are not politicians and we don't seek election at points of time. But those who do seek election are jolly scared of the Election Commission. They can really bring them to their knees, And I can assure you of another thing. Debashish, of course, said that the government had made a wrong choice in choosing the CAG. But I can assure you they'll make the right choice in choosing his successor. You have no grounds for any worry. You can be assured. Believe me, today the strength is not of one person or any individual or any leader. No, the strength is of a immensely professional organization that I am privileged to head. Believe me, they are incapable. They are incapable of making a mistake. Their procedures are so rigorous, And they're totally independent of anything that is happening in the rest of the country. And they are today empowered by a 24/7 media, often which is on overdrive. That's an entirely different thing. But that is the force multiplier for the department like ours.
And we're very happy that 15 of your colleagues are here today with us. I hope you all keep up the good work.
Sir, my name is Tulsi Tawri. I have a question that while you are being empowered to audit after the expenses are done, isn't any institution or this institution empowered to audit at the policy making level too? I'll give you two pertinent examples and kindly address this. For instance, when we look at the ULIP policy, where 25 to 50% were taken off right at the investment moment, is obviously a total fraud at the policy level itself. And how could any policy maker allow this kind of a policy? Number one. Number two example is when Commonwealth Games were held, and nobody seems to really understand that how come so much money was invested in the name of sports for an event which was maybe about 20 days long. I want to refer to, should that money be invested in every district of this nation just to create a center, training center for young people? How many Olympians would have been created? So it is not just the corruption of that money which was invested in Commonwealth Games, how that money was not allocated for creation of training centers rather than creating an event of that kind of an order. Thank you.
See, public policy is also audited. Before the policy is formulated, we have a system of financial advisors in every government who look at the policies in the course of their being formulated itself. We don't do that because our job is external audit. We come post the event. By definition, we are supposed to audit post the event. But policies are being audited. How the quality of that audit is in the stage of formulation itself, I really can't comment upon it, but it is, the process is very much there. About ULIP, well, I don't know. You have a very independent regulator over here. If Sucheta can't do it, there's nobody else who can do that kind of a thing. She's been doing it, and I know for the last 20 years. It
doesn't work.
It'll be made to work. Commonwealth Games, you see, it's a very difficult choice. It's a very difficult choice. The games, much of the expenditure that was undertaken was for creating infrastructure, sports infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure in New Delhi where the games were held. So it's a very difficult choice to say, and you must have read the debates in Parliament among ministers itself, whether we should hold the games and squander money, as they said, on the games, or should we go and create infrastructure in the districts. It's a very difficult choice. Each one of us will have individual opinion on it. And I really wouldn't like to comment. But yes, our job was only to ensure that monies were actually spent for the purpose for which they had been budgeted. And we've written a 700-page Janet Blyton story, as Debashish would like to call it, on that itself. Makes interesting reading.
विनोद राय जी, मैं मयूर परीख हूँ ABP न्यूज़ से। आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा, आपने शुरुआत में ही, अपने स्पीच की शुरुआत में ही कहा कि डबल डिजिट ये देश की ग्रोथ एक्सपेक्ट करता है और बड़े ही सहज रूप से हासिल भी हो सकती है। क्या वजह रही कि आज भी डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ ऐसे मंदी के समय में देश नहीं देख पा रहा है? एक दूसरा, आपने कहा कि आपकी हेलीकॉप्टर के ऊपर एक रिपोर्ट तैयार है जो बहुत जल्द हमें देखने मिलेगी, तो कब तक देखने मिलेगी CAG की रिपोर्ट? और यदि कुछ खुलासे आप एक्सक्लूसिवली यहीं पे कर पाएँ।
एक्सक्लूसिवली Trust the media man to say exclusively, you know. नहीं, देखिए, आपका पहला सवाल क्या था, मैं भूल ही गया।
डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ।
हाँ, मैंने डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ की बात ये कही थी। मैंने ये कहा कि इस मिलीनियम में हमारी वाइब्रेंट डेमोक्रेसी ने हमको डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ दिया, करीब करीब डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ दिया। लेकिन इकोनॉमिक फाइनेंशियल मेल्टडाउन जो हुआ उसके इकोनॉमिक कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हुए, तो उसमें हमारी डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ में कुछ कमी आ गई। लेकिन अभी भी देखिए 5.5-6% ग्रोथ हमारी है, डेमोक्रेसी की वजह से है, वेरी क्रेडिटेबल। और कितने नेशन वर्ल्ड में हैं जिनकी 5.5-6% ग्रोथ है। दूसरा, आपने ऑडिट की बात उठाई। डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री हम लोग ऑडिट करते हैं, डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री के सब प्रोग्राम हम लोग ऑडिट करते हैं। ये जो हेलीकॉप्टर की बात कर रहे हैं उसकी भी ऑडिट हो रही है। अब कब आएगी मैं फ़ौरन अभी नहीं बता सकता हूँ कि मेरे को उसका स्टेज नहीं पता है, बट मेरे को ये ज़रूर पता है कि इसका ऑडिट हो रहा है।
Anything on budget?
Anything on the budget? We don't come into the picture.
We'll keep it short there, please.
Thank you. I'm Suraj Bharti. I have a big question which is going on hot today. Okay.
Big question.
But short.
And it's related.
But short.
It's related to the LPG subsidy part and everything.
Sorry?
LPG subsidy, LPG and kerosene subsidy issues. I have calculated some of my calculations are there. Okay. Based on that, I found that the subsidies, whatever they have given the working capital, that based on the import parity prices. Okay, so it's every crude oils and everything has been purchased directly from the international market. So do our company, I mean our oil companies, doesn't explore or produce oils for the purpose of the LPGs and kerosene? It is something like in that way?
Your calculations are that LPG is based on
subsidies and everything.
Sorry?
LPG and kerosene, the subsidy issues which is going on right now. Okay, that you pay for some of the amount and later on you take up the subsidy. Okay, which has been enforced and you have to. They have worked on with integration of a module of UIDI. UIDI is still 15% which is accomplished of the altogether 125 crore UIDs to be distributed. So we are just taking up this issue of LPG and kerosene issues for the subsidy part. What has happened, we have found that, okay, everywhere the money has been circulated, the oil marketing companies says that we are incurring heavy losses on our part. And that's why we need a subsidy to be, and the subsidy we need it from the government. Government says that, okay, subsidy has to be given, but when we pay, it is again a total loss to the exchequer. I mean, the subsidy has been given to the oil companies. Okay, now the subsidy part is near about working around 48,000 crore rupees. 48,000 something crore rupees. But actually when we worked out, it accounts for only for not more than 10,000 crore rupees.
You should have been a public auditor with us.
No, it's not.
Please share your working and your findings with us. My colleagues are all here. Please share it with us. We will use it for the audit. But subsidy is a question, I mean, it's balancing social welfare and economics. So a balance has to be brought about.
Sir, this is Vivekanand. Many thanks for your enlightening speech. Hello. Yeah. So, as an earlier gentleman had pointed out regarding our views or public views on policy making, and there are instances where some of us may believe that the bandwidth that the government is devoting to certain policies and programs may better be devoted to other avenues. So I tracked the telecom sector, and your report on the sector was also very enlightening, and obviously that was also a commentary on the policy making and the procedures. So in the telecom sector in particular, I have found that there is a consultative process where before the regulator comes out with anything specific, there is a public consultation process. But I would like to understand if there is anything that we, the citizens, can do to better participate in policy making in the other spheres which are particularly of higher relevance. For instance, subsidies, education, housing, and so on.
No, certainly. See, informed opinions, citizen groups have been giving it. You see, you have your elected representatives, you can provide this informed opinion to your elected representatives. How good he is in raising your voice or bringing your voice in before the policy planners, of course, depends entirely upon how much of an effective elected person he is. But that's the only way you can do it. Constitute yourselves into groups, as Moneylife is doing. They're doing it there. That's the way you act as an opinion leader. That's the way as you act as a pressure group. That's the way you put pressure, peer pressure, on those who are constituting policies, etc. So that's, you will have to deal with it in that paradigm itself.
Good evening, respected sir. I am Umar Farooq. I've got a query on the coal scam. After the report was released saying that the coal scam is to the tune of 1,86,000 crore rupees, CAG clarified that the benefits are accrued over a period of 25 years. That's what was clarified initially. Then, why isn't a discount rate or a discounting factor used over a period of 25 years, which is used in case of Reliance Power and Delhi International Airport? Now, if that discounting factor were to be used, the losses from the coal scam, which are now probably in everybody's eyes around 1,86,000 crore rupees, probably would have been around 50 to 60,000 crore rupees. Now, also another factor to that is 53% of the coal blocks that were allocated to the PSU, which were and majority chunk to NTPC, which is again in the larger interest of the nation. So how would you highlight your points on the coal scam? Isn't the nation being led on being misled with figures which are not exactly correct?
See, number one, in our report we have not included public sector at all. The allocations made to private individuals are the only ones that we've looked into, because public sector price is not determined by them, it's determined by the price of the CIL, whatever it is. That's number one. Number two, why we have not used the discounting factor. If you look into report, we've explained it there itself, why we used it in DIL and why we used it in the gas issue here, because we have calculated only the present value. We have explained that we have calculated only the present value, but that's not material. That's just not material. If you say that the loss pointed out by by us, which is 1.80 or whatever it is too much, and if you use discounting the loss as per you is 60,000 only, well, fine, you are entitled to your opinion. But does that, however, are you willing to condone that loss of 60,000? Isn't it?
Again, I have a further query onto that. Now, if you look at most of these coal blocks, not even a gram of coal has been extracted, right? So actually the resources are as it is for the nation. So if you go to see from that perspective, the nation has not lost anything.
My dear sir, the coal was allotted to you 20 years back. It is turned into gold today. You have not extracted it.
Good evening, sir. Salute you. I come from telecom industry, 25 years in the industry. There are two challenges. Recently, whatever spectrum scam was highlighted has been partially debunked by a coalition of private sector telecom operators and government in the rebid of spectrum charges in February. The second one is happening sometime in April, which is also going in the way where they would underprice or sort of not auction the prices what are expected. So this tries to put CAG in a tight spot. The second challenge, which I come from telecom industry, is the audit portion technically. Sir, there is a revenue sharing system in telecom where operators have to pay 30% to the government. This could be done technically, and there is very little budget given to government and DOT to do this. I would request some support from government and DOT for technical audit online for these revenues which leak through in the system.
Make your request to government. We are not the ones to decide that, the latter part of it. The first part of it was the auctions. Hopefully sometime as we audited the earlier auctions, we'll auction this also. We'll bring out the real picture before you.
Sir, your post is defined in Constitution of India under Chapter 5, Section 5, Chapter 5. There are only 4 articles, of which Article 48 states about your appointment, and Article 49 is redundant. And whatever the work you have done is under Article 50 and 51. And according to me, that in last 58 years of the existence of the Constitution, there is no change in the rights, whatever is given under the article. According to me, there should be a schedule for Comptroller and Auditor General of India, so that the others can interact with you regarding the scams and any other irregularities that is going on here. Thank you.
There's one question for Mr. S.T. Israni. He says that if you had to just define 3 steps that should be taken by the government which could reduce corruption significantly, what would those be?
Now, why do you want me to define steps that the government should be taking? I'd rather define steps that we need to be taking, because I'm not in the government anymore. And I think that priority of those 3 steps, critical steps, should be left to government to define. I wouldn't like to do or recommend to government what they need to be doing.
Sir, you have been accused of political ambition post-retirement.
Is that any wrong to have political ambition?
They say you are supported by BJP and after your retirement you will join politics.
Sorry?
They say you are supported by BJP and you will join politics after your retirement. So what is your post-retirement plan?
I promise you I'll prove them all wrong if you give me a job after retirement. But time alone will tell. I neither affirm nor deny that.
सर, मैं आपको बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आपके आने से कई स्कैम और चोरियां पकड़ी गई, लेकिन एक जनरल रूल बनाए कि चोरी पकड़ी जाती है तो चोरी है, और स्कैम भी खुल गया तो वो स्कैम हो गया, जो नहीं खुले वो पीछे के पीछे ऐसे कैसे रह गए। मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे ये है कि आपने पूरा ढांचा देखा, स्कैम्स देखे, कभी घर पे बैठ करके चाय पीते वक्त आपको ये लगा कि हिंदुस्तान के आम आदमी का पैसा जो इन लोगों के पास आ रहा है और जिस पद्धति से जो कंट्रोल्स हैं उसके हिसाब से स्पेंड हो रहा है, क्या वो प्रॉपर है या अंधेर नगरी और चौपट राजा वाला हिसाब है? क्या हमारा देश भविष्य के लिए सेफ है इन नीतियों से, या हमें इन नीतियों में किसी भी प्रकार की परिवर्तन की जरूरत है? थैंक यू।
इस चीज़ पे विचार करने के लिए आपको सीएजी बनने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। आप आम आदमी हैं, आप भी विचार कर सकते हैं।
मैं एक आम आदमी के हिसाब से आपको पूछ रहा हूँ कि कभी आपको शाम को लगा कि यार ये देश के में क्या हो रहा है आम आदमी के पैसे के साथ में?
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि सीएजी होने की क्या ज़रूरत है उसके लिए। आम आदमी, मैं आम आदमी हूँ,
क्योंकि आपको पता चलता है कि क्या हो रहा है, मतलब आम आदमी को ये पता नहीं चलता है कि वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है। मैं आपको सीएजी की हैसियत से कि जब आप देखते हैं कि आम आदमी का पैसा किस हिसाब से स्पेंड किया गया, तब आपको कुछ लगता है क्या?
और जब मुझे पता चलता है तो मैं फौरन आपको भी बता देता हूँ अपने रिपोर्ट में।
Good evening, sir. I'm Simply Singh. I'm a social activist and following the CAG reports for last 6-7 years. And but at times we feel very frustrated because in most of the reports, in the findings we find that this typical line that in the exit conference the findings were shared with the secretary of that department and a response is awaited. And we had tried to follow a few of the cases and we find that we even filed RTIs that what was the secretary's response to CAG's findings. But like there are few scams which have caught the attention of the nation, but most of the voluminous work that CAG does, the government never, that concerned department never takes action on that. So what is the follow-up mechanism followed by the CAG, or how citizens who come to know that such a finding has been made, that what can be done? Because in most of the cases it doesn't, nothing, any action doesn't take place.
See, as far as we are concerned, our constitutional mandate is to conduct the audit and provide the parliament, which is your representative, with the findings of the audit. We are doing that. Now, beyond that, there is parliamentary procedure, there's a public accounts committee, etc., and the government which is supposed to follow up. But one thing which you mentioned about the exit conference, now we are ensuring that the departments concerned do attend our exit conferences. We ensure that, and henceforth you will find barely any report which says that the reply to the exit conference is awaited. They all come for the exit conferences.
Thank you very much.